Guys, welcome back. In this video we are going to learn about interceptors. If you are a beginner, then probably this will be a very good tutorial for you, but generally you must be aware. If you are some intermediate or experienced programmers, you must be aware of interceptors, and probably you might not be aware of interceptors in NestJS. Then again it will be a good tutorial for you. So what we are going to do, we are going to see what is interceptors and how we can create different type of interceptors in NestJS. So we'll talk more about it, but before that I'm just going to create one project first. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna type ls. I don't have any project here, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create nest new. I will use short form nest and what can be the name of Nest Interceptors tutorial. Alright, so this will be our project. I'm gonna use pnpm this time, and meanwhile it is trying to install all the dependencies. We are going to discuss what is interceptor. So interceptor is kind of, you can say, one method which intercepts, means it can modify the request, it can modify the response. So whenever you return something from a route, it goes to some other method. So you can put a method in between the client and after the return from your route, and we can do some steps there like modifying. We can log after the return of from the routes, or similarly we can do same thing in request interceptor. Like we can, before we trigger the route handler, we can do some steps. We can modify the request, we can do again logging there, we can do other steps like reporting and something else. We want to trigger some other steps, we want to create some files. So interceptor is nothing, it is a kind of method which is sitting ahead and after, after the response from the route handler, or before the response, before the request reaches to the route handler. Alright, so enough talking, and now we are going to see how this happens in actually some examples. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna open this project in my VS Code editor, and since I've created this new project, it will look straightforward with some files in srcs and all the boilerplate code. Alright. Okay, so I'm not going to create any module here, so just to save some time. If we will need something, we'll definitely do that. Alright, so what we are going to do, we are going to create one interceptor. Okay, I can do it with the help of command line, CLI, but let's first do with the just creating some files. Okay, so what I want to do first is I want to show you something here in documentation, like what it is written here. An interceptor is a class annotated with injectable, so provider, so it will be a provider. And so when we mark any class as injectable, actually an instance of it can be created, although like if we are not providing any scope, this will be a singleton's instance, and it should implement nest interceptor. So we are implementing nest interceptors. The reason behind that is it probably would be having some method which we need to override, right? So that's why we are using this nest interceptor to intercept, and we will be overriding the methods. Okay, so this is inspired by AOP. If you are coming from Java background, then probably you might be aware of aspect oriented programming. It's kind of like, understand is something like hook or something, where you want to hook something between somewhere, some logics, and you can just get it done. Okay, so we can definitely go through all this documentation and try to understand things, but it will be again easier to learn something more in details if we do write coding. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna write one what we can do. Okay, so what we can do is I'll create one basic interceptor. Let's say logging interceptor, which logs things after some route handler response. So we'll be creating one response handler. Okay, so let's do this first. So in src, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create a file here, and I will show you in both way, like how we can use CLI and how we can create just with the help of, I mean, creating files from editor. So let's do it the hardware first, and what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create one file, logging interceptor.ts. okay, in general, like in TypeScript, what we do is like we create some class. So I'm going to create a class, and we can name it following the same standards, logging interceptors, first with the removing the dot and using the Pascal case, interceptors or interceptor. I think it should be interceptor, not interceptor. And okay, it's just a simple class. It has nothing to do with NestJS. It is just a TypeScript class. Now, how we can make it interceptor? So we need to do two things. We need to first annotate with injectable, and the second we need to implement it with nest interceptor. So it is saying like we need to make it a provider. So what we can do is we can just use injectable. Now Nest can create an instance of it, and then we need to implement it nest interceptor. Now as we implement we have written the implement nest interceptor, it starts showing some errors. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just click on it. Can it fix it automatically? No, nope, it's not fixing it automatically. Alright, so let's let understand it like you don't know what are the methods you need to implement. And we'll go into the nest interceptor and we'll see like what are this method actually. So as you see, this is interface. It has one method, intercept. It has two parameters, context and next. So if you are coming from Express background, JavaScript Express, then you probably would have created some middlewares. It is kind of similar to that. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a method here, intercept. Okay, and this method will take two arguments, context, execution context, and then second parameter is next, that will be a call handler. Okay, why it is showing some red highlight? Probably because we are not returning anything. Property intercept in log intercept is not assignable to the same property in base. Okay, so void is not assignable to observable, so it should return observable. That's why it is giving us error. So definitely we are going to return something observable here. So let's do this way, observe, what was the spelling, observable. We need to import it from RxJS. Okay, observable. Am I writing something wrong here? Why it is not automatically import is getting detected, RxJS. Alright, and what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna observable. Now we have this observable, and we can write its data as type any. Okay, alright, so error has gone away from here. Now it started showing error here in return type, since we are not returning it anything. So we'll do it right away. Okay, so what we can do, so we'll try to understand what is context, what is next. So if you are coming from next, Express background, then the next is the same thing. Like if you want to trigger the next execution handler, next middleware, next route, whatever the next method is defined in the request path, that will be triggered, and where we are using this interceptor. Okay, so that's why it's different from the middleware. Like we trigger it at some route level, at some place, at some particular, we hook it somewhere. All right, so if we want to do something like context is something where we can get request response, these things. Like if we want to get the manipulate the request and response, we can get it from the context. Okay, so let's say we are creating one variable now, so I can use date.now, so it will provide me some timestamp, and if I want to do like console.log, so we can do request received, and I'm gonna do some logs here, dots, and then the next thing is next.handle. If we do this, it is going to execute the next method, and then I'm going to use pipe. So after this next method execution completes, we can trigger the pipe. Also, why we are able to use this pipe, so if you hover over handle, you see this is an observable. So observable is RxJS library, so we can use pipe to get the data returned from next handle. It will be a stream of data. Okay, and now so we can use tap. So in pipe we can use tap. So okay, so when we use tap, we can actually get the data out of it, and let's say request processed in date.now minus now, and probably this would be an image, right? Yeah, I'm in milliseconds. So tap is just you can understand it, just an empty method where we can execute it. Just our, when we do pipe, like we can do a number of methods, we can execute a number of methods here. Similarly, the tap is used to execute a method. If you hover over it, you can also see some details about it. Instead of passing separate callback argument, use an observable argument signature tagging. Okay, fine. So if you want to learn more about tap, so what is tap? Tap in RxJS, so let me show you what it is. Used to perform side effects for notification from source observable. Okay, so this method is used for performing side effects. Okay, we can do okay, sure. When we do something here, it will reflect changes. Okay, so it's actually we can go in detail about it, like how it works, but I would leave it to you, and or we will come to this later. I'll try to explain it in details, but for now just understand it like this normal callback function. And pipe, we are trying to execute then something else after this one, that's why we are using pipe. Okay, and let's see, like we have this as injectable. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna add it in app module here. I can import it, and then let's try to add it, or let's try to add it here. Use interceptors, logging interceptor. Do we need to use it as a function? No, it's a class, right? It's a class. Okay, fine. Now, okay, so if I try to run this npm start dev, then I can run it in localhost 3000. Okay, nothing is coming up. I need to save it here, then it will start working. Okay, we are getting some error. 3000 is in use. Let's try to do something here. I will have to restart my system. This port is occupied today, I don't know why. If I try to restart, I can just get it executed on this port, and I'm getting hello world. I would have got log here. So okay, so what is happening here is, okay, so what is happening here is this code is executed first, and then our next handler executed, and after the next handler executed, we actually hooked it. We did some side effect here if we wanted to do some changes, and then we logged it here, and then response reads to, I mean, client, which we see here, right? Okay, so how we can actually access the response? So what I'm saying, let's say this is the controller, it is returning get hello, so I will leave it get hello since we don't want to go talk about services and other things in details. We are not putting any database or other stuff's logic here. But if you notice, this service is returning just a small text hello world, and I want to access this response in interceptor here. Then is it possible to do this? Okay, so before I do this, let me just try to remove it and see if something happens. So it just executed this one, and then it's triggered this one. For simplicity, I will be adding a log here, get hello executed. Okay, now if I try to run get hello, then you will notice first it goes to logging interceptor, okay, and then it triggers the next handle, and after that it reaches to the client. And now if you want to if you want to get the details of whatever returned from the client, not client, the data from the route, then we can add pipe here. In pipe, if you want to do some modification with the data, we can use data. So why we are using this thing? So this is an observable. It is not just a single return, it's a stream of data that will be coming in binary form. So we are using map. It's a special operator from RxJS, which we can use it here to access the data from the stream value. Okay, so now we have this data, and what we want is we want to console log it here, and inside map operator. Okay, and now I'm gonna put one colon, should return data, otherwise it will not reach to client. And if I refresh, I'm getting the data whatever returned from. So let's do one thing. I'm gonna modify the data. So data equal to data plus space equal to Vivek, and now let's see how it works. So now we are getting these things, even though we are returning just hello world. So how this is very powerful. So just we use some interceptor, and we are able to do a few things after the response. And let's say we want to modify something in the request itself. Let's say we want to get a query param, for example, let's say anything, question q, and if we add q as what is your name, okay, and this is kind of something, just I'm just taking an example. Let's say we are using this kind of statement, and if I modify it a bit in app controller, and I'll take it as at rate query, and I can import query. Why I'm not able to do that? It is already imported, okay, and this q, and here we can map question, and it would be a string, okay. Now if I try to log it here to just see what is q, then probably we'll see the same thing which we are trying to pass from the route here. So let's see what it is returning. So it is returning what is your name. Now I just want to correct few things and capitalize it to uppercase. So how we can do that? So let's create another interceptor. Instead of modifying, so capitalize, okay, or do this way, uppercase dot interceptor. Although we can definitely do this with the some pipe and all, but I'm just giving you showing you things, the power of interceptor. Okay, the first thing which we do here is we create a class uppercase interceptor. Okay, we didn't write class class keyword here, and we'll have to make it provider. So we'll write it as injectable and we should implement it with nest interceptor if you are creating interceptor, right? And I don't know why it doesn't give a suggestion. Yeah, now I am getting this suggestion. So I have implemented this thing, and let me just remove it for a while. This will return observable. Alright, now we are going to modify the intercept method of nest interceptor interface. Now what we can do here, we can get so what we were trying to do is we were trying to make all the text to uppercase. So although definitely this will not be a generic use case for all the routes, but for this route where we are just passing some string values, this can work. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna just use const request. Ideally it should work this way, switch. Okay, we have couple of methods here, get handler, switch to. So if you want to get request response, then we need this switch to HTTP. So first we'll have to change it to HTTP, and now context will have this, and now const. Okay, in request what we can do, in request dot body we can do it, not body, I think it was in query param. Okay, so how we can modify the query param? So should we try to log it first? Okay, let's log it. Okay, I'll have to return something from here. So what we can do, next handle, otherwise this will not work. So in uppercase, first thing I'm gonna do here is I'm just going to use add it in service, and then what I can do, I can uppercase interceptor, and now okay, let's try to see what is there in request, and how we can modify things coming in query. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just try to run this, and I'm able to get the request. Since this is very, I mean, long thing. Let me try one thing here, request dot query, and see if this works. Yeah, I think we are getting. So in request dot query we are having queue, and can we modify it directly? You can try to do this as well. So request dot query dot queue equal to request dot query. Okay, what was the method for the uppercase? I think it should be on string. I was trying to I just forgot like how we can make it uppercase. Okay, so it's not showing up here. So what we can do is like we can write it this way. Since we are aware this will be a string, or it will try to convert it. Now we can use two uppercase. And okay, if I try to rerun this, and now we are seeing it in caps. Can we check where this is being executed? So it is being executed here, hello world, get hello executed question. So before it reaches to this handler, we modified it here. I mean, in uppercase interceptor we modified it, and if we want to access the response, we can use pipe and then map. If we just want to like use a callback, we can use sorry, not pipe, tap. Okay, so there are other things as well, like we can use catch errors. We can use catch for the errors, and it's also a part of RxJS. So I mean, we can use that as well. If you think like your application is returning some errors, then we can create error interceptors. Like if some then we can catch some errors. Here we will, what we will be using, we'll be using catch error, and it will return error. And then this error, you can console dot error intercepted. Either you can just remove some error, ignore some error, or you want to customize some error, or you can just explicitly customize your exceptions. You can throw something else. Why this is throwing an error? Why this is throwing an error? Okay, void is not assignable, so it returns an error as well. So return new throw error. Throw error is also part of RxJS, so it will return an observable, and new HTTP exception. And you can write it like anything, custom error message and the status code error.status or 500, whatever like you want to add it here, we can definitely do that. And why this is throwing, showing it as deprecated. The signature error observable neighbor of throw is deprecated. The declaration was marked as deprecated. Okay, so what we can use instead of this, yeah, you can definitely find it out, like wow, what we can use instead of. You can Google it and see what we can use. So if I try to Google and just give me a second, I'm showing you. So throw error is deprecated, and now if I try to search it, so how this is working, throw error. So we just need to do this way, I guess. Yeah, now it is working. Also, like I need one more bracket. So if some error happens during this execution, it will come to error log, and I will try to add like qs dot hello dot world. Okay, just console dot log qs dot hello dot world. Okay, so this way it cannot be executed since we have marked it as string. What we can do, we can just simply throw new error custom testing error, and see how this works. Error intercepted, custom testing error. So we are getting error intercepted. If I go in uppercase interceptor, I see we are getting this log, and what we are getting it here is status 500 and custom error message. So we are getting this response as well. So that's it from this video. We can definitely look ahead and explore about it. There are few things we can always try to find it out on Google, like what else we can do with interceptor, what are the different things we can do. Although the main idea is to intercept any request or intercept any response, and we can do both from this just by making a creating a class, implementing with nest interceptor, overriding the intercept method and marking this class as provider, making it injectable. So that was it from this video. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.